Hey, Eagles fans, if you're a subscriber to the JAKIB Media YouTube channel, you are already registered to win a pair of season tickets for the upcoming season. That's right, you could win a pair of season tickets for the upcoming 2021 season just for being a subscriber. If you're watching and you're not a subscriber, do it now. Subscribe to the JAKIB Media YouTube channel right now. What do you need to do? Subscribe right now.
Coming up on hour number 2 on this hump day edition of Birds 365. Wednesday means we start to turn the attention a little bit. We already have. First 2 days, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, third day, if you consider after the game Sunday night part of the week conversation. You're either singing the praises of a winning effort or you're questioning what the hell happened on a losing effort. This week, it was glory, glory, hallelujah, because the Eagles did a beatdown on the Atlanta Falcons. We now start to look ahead to the 49ers, and I want to do some of that with Jeff Kerr here. I do want to mention someone shot me a tweet. They're going, Jody, and during the break, yes, I did refill my coffee. Outstanding. Hot, too. Someone mentioned, is that stateside vodka you have in that big travel mug that you have here? Could only wish, right? One of our sponsors I mentioned yesterday, if they wanted to send over samples for the hosts of Birds 365, I would certainly be willing to do any sampling that they needed for stateside vodka. And I would use the Rocks glass, not my coffee travel mug that I use daily here on Birds 365. But no, unfortunately, it is not a little early to be hitting the stateside. But for them, I would maybe make an exception during Birds 365. Stay tuned for details on future episodes. All right, this episode, Jeff Kerr, as we turn our attention to the 49ers going forward, both you and Johnny Mack kind of said, yeah, don't worry about Kerryon Johnson. He may have forgotten everything that he learned in the Birds camp before he was released and is now a 49er. But I was surprised last week by the 49ers, and that after Mostert went out, they turned to this Elijah Mitchell. I talked about this yesterday on the show. I've got my NFL draft guides right next to me. The SIS football rookie handbook is one that I use. My buddy Rick Saratella with his NFL draft Bible. I remember reading about Mitchell last year. I can honestly tell you, I never saw him play at Nevada, at Louisiana. So I didn't know, then that's not LSU. That's the University of Louisiana. I had never seen the kid play. But both of those two draft guides did give him a chance to be an NFL draft pick. And sure enough, the Niners took him in the 6th round, and he debuts with a 100-yard game when Mostert goes out. I was surprised that Trey Sermon was not the guy. I did not even know that Sermon was a healthy scratch for week 1. He rushed for 331 yards. We discussed this before the game in last year's Big Ten championship against Northwestern. That's individually. That's not a team. That's not Ohio State. Sermon himself rushed for 331 yards in one game, a conference championship game. That's what got him drafted well before Mitchell did, and he was a healthy scratch last week. Just a numbers game, a rewarding Mitchell because he was that good in camp. Why do you think he was the guy who was Johnny on the spot to pick up promotion when he went down with the injury last night over a guy like Trey Sermon?
Well, Eli Mitchell really did have a good preseason. And, when I was doing some 49ers stuff, everybody was talking about Jimmy G and Trey Lance. And, I'm watching the 49ers preseason game, and I'm like, okay, Eli Mitchell doesn't look terrible. And, I didn't think he was a bad player in college at all, but it was like, and I figured, okay, how many running backs is this team going to keep? Who are they going to cut? And they kept Eli Mitchell, and I'm like, okay, I get that. This team gets hurt all the time. I'm sure Raheem Mostert will injure something week 1. Well, Raheem Mostert injured something week 1, and he's done for the season. So I didn't think he would be the guy over Trey Sermon right away, but it was a really good matchup against a Detroit defense that, if you get Eli Mitchell in the second level, he is going to beat you. 19 carries, 105 yards, and a touchdown. Again, I think this is where the 49ers are really going to unleash Trey Sermon this week because Eagles linebackers did not have a good week tackling. They didn't really have a good preseason tackling, if we want to be honest, the entire defense. But this is a week where I think you're going to see a combination of Trey Sermon and Eli Mitchell. And if you can get Mitchell the outside and then that second level, it could be a long day for the Eagles defense.
All right, last week, Eagles defense gave up 124 yards rushing on 26 attempts. That's not a bad number. That's almost 5 per attempt for Atlanta, but they got away from the running game after the first 2 series in which they kind of gutted the Eagles on the ground. But then they were trailing. They had to throw the ball that much more. They couldn't do that effectively. Did we find out week 1, are the Eagles going to be a team that you can run against, you can't run against? It's going to be a week-to-week thing. How would you rank and or rate the Eagles' run defense 1 week into the season?
To be determined. I'll go in incomplete right now. I mean, I wasn't too happy. Mike Davis was running all over the place on the Eagles' defense and making Jannard Avery look like he was on skates at certain points. But the Eagles did make a lot of crucial third down stops against the run when they had to on the 3rd and shorts. And then the foul, when they took the 15-6 halftime lead, the Falcons just got away from it. And it's just weird for Arthur Smith because he's used Derrick Henry so much over the years. But I think he realized Mike Davis isn't Derrick Henry. And I gotta figure something out here. And, that was Kyle Shanahan's going to run the ball down your throat. He don't care if he's down 10. He don't care if he's down 20. But ultimately, you want to get this team in 3rd and long situations because that's what they set themselves up for. They set themselves up for 3rd and manageable, and then they can use Jimmy Garoppolo and his ability to hit pretty much any slant in the NFL or any out route in the league. Or you can use Trey Lance and really throw in a curveball there because he's a threat to run. So basically, how to contain this team, just don't give up the big runs. Do not give up the 10-yard runs. Don't give up the 7-yard runs on first down. I think this week will be a better indicator of where we think the Eagles' run defense is. If I had to grade them, I don't even think I grade them right now. I just think I grade them an incomplete because I want to grade the defense as a whole. But this week, we'll get a really good idea of how much the Eric Wilson, Jannard Avery will hurt this team going forward because they were on my stock down list for the Eagles this week. I didn't have many, but those 2 were definitely on it.
Fair enough. One guy who I hope his stock stays high this week, because it's higher than it's ever been, let's be honest, is Jordan Mailata. The Eagles made a commitment to him prior to the game on Sunday, gave him a big contract extension, which for my money, he absolutely earned and deserved because he was in a battle for the left tackle spot preseason with Andre Dillard and easily dispatched him. So he's going to be the man on the left side for the Eagles for the next several years. We're going to get a nice little litmus test here in week number 2 because Mr. Bosa is coming to town and he's as good a speed rushing outside pass rusher as there is in the National Football League. Right now, Jordan Mailata is way up here. And that one block, he had the best block in the entire game for the Jalen Reagor, sprung him for the touchdown game. So he's got everything going for him, including a serious highlight on tape. If Joey Bosa gets to the quarterback a couple of times, Mailata is going to come right back down to earth. We sometimes overreact, members of the media. I know the fan base does with guys who have short-term success, and Jordan still got a lot to prove, even though the Eagles put faith in him by doing the contract extension. How's Mailata going to play against Bosa this week?
It may not even be just Nick Bosa. D. Ford, Eric Armstead. Oh, man. What a trial by fire.
Well, Mailata doesn't have to block all of them. He's only got to block one guy.
It is going to be Nick Bosa. And, he's going to have to earn his money this week because even good days against Nick Bosa, he gets to the quarterback. And Nick Bosa, I'm sure when he found out Taylor Decker was hurt for Detroit, he kind of smiled a little bit because that freed up so much for him. And, Nick Bosa is going to be a man on a mission this year because he tore his ACL last year and missed pretty much all the season. That was my dark horse for Defensive Player of the Year last year, Nick Bosa. And then he got hurt, and I'm like, okay, well, that's gone. But man, this guy is a transcending talent. Defensive rookie of the year at 9 sacks his rookie year and you could argue he was the third best defensive end on that NFC Championship team. But this guy is going to pressure him all day long. He is going to be in Jordan Mailata's face. He's going to make every spin move, every swim move to get past this guy. I think Jordan Mailata is going to be one of the better offensive tackles he's seen in a while because obviously he hasn't played much, but it's going to be a test. And the ultimate test for me, Jody, is going to be when Nick Bosa goes outside. Will Jordan Mailata bite and kind of fall for the bait? Or is he going to just stand his ground and make sure pretty much that Nick Bosa doesn't get around him and go to Jalen Hurts? Because Jordan Mailata is fast enough to stick with him. But does Jordan Mailata trust his instincts? Does he trust them instead of his physical ability? We know his physical ability, but physical ability can get you burned in this league sometimes.
This goes back to one of the things John said earlier today when he was on with us, Mr. McMullen, and has said throughout the preseason, it's one of the things about Jalen Hurts they continually monitor. When the pressure gets high and hot and fast, Jordan likes to escape to the right. He likes to sprint out of the pocket. One of the things the coaching staff has been getting on him is every once in a while, the better move would probably to be climbing the pocket and step up into the pocket. Well, if Nick Bosa is going to go real wide on Jordan Mailata and he decides to sprint out to the right, Bosa is one of the guys who's fast enough in the league to actually run down Jalen Hurts from behind. So we'll see if this week Jalen does the right thing, which may, and it'll be a handful of plays out of all the past plays they have, when he needs to step up in the pocket because Mailata has to give up the outside and try and push Bosa around the pocket. We'll see if that works with Jalen Hurts stepping up into the pocket. Got another offensive line question for you, and I know it's not Eagle immediate important, but it will be at some point this year because they do play the Detroit Lions. I didn't even know this, and it's my bad. I should have. Penei Sewell was moved over to the right-hand side this year.
Yeah, they did that way long ago, like before even training camp started, because they have Taylor Decker and they signed Decker to an extension. I think he's one of the higher paid offensive tackles in football now, which again, it's going to be like Mailata. It's going to be a really good deal down the road. But yeah, it's because everybody's like, okay, why'd they get Penei Sewell when they have Taylor Decker? I'm like, well, because you can have both of them. And honestly, it's almost like a Lane Johnson type thing. Like when the Eagles drafted Lane Johnson, they had Jason Pierce. Well, now they got Penei Sewell's never really played right tackle. He's learning it. But Dan Campbell was pretty hell-bent on saying, look, I don't plan on moving him. Like, he's getting better at right tackle. He's starting to understand that position. So that's how they're lining it up. And I'll tell you what, Jody, before Decker got hurt, you look at Detroit's offensive line, like Frank Ragnow and, all those guys, they got a really, really good offensive line. And they're all young. I think Decker's the oldest at 27. He's definitely trying to build that team in the trenches. And they started on the offensive line, and they want to go defensive line next. I know that's going to take a while, but they were able to keep Romeo Okura. So that was a big signing. And Trey Flowers has been a disappointment, but he's not terrible. But overall, I mean, when they drafted Penei Sewell, and he struggled in training camp a bit learning it, but he said, new position, I'll get it. He has been getting better every week from the preseason games I watched. And on Sunday, I didn't think he played that bad.
And I like Decker, and I know how good Decker is. I'm sorry, you make that high commitment in the first round with a draft pick, he gets the left tackle position. You ask Decker to figure out how to play right tackle. That would have been the way I handle it.
Well, Decker probably would have moved too. Like, that's just the way Decker is. Like, I think he would have. I just think maybe it's, hey, maybe they'll do this after this year, but I think Dan Campbell just wants his offensive lineman to be as versatile as possible.
Well, it's nice to say that, but I'm sure they said that to Andre Dillard too. Oops, how'd that go when they tried to move him to the right?
Well, that was like running with your left hand, Jody. It's a lame excuse, by the way. And I get it, like, as someone who learned that in high school, but I never made it to be as difficult as I didn't play tackle here. I was a guard.
Some people can pull it off. Others can't. It's nice for the coaches to say, I want everybody to be able to be flexible and play both sides and play inside and outside. It's a great idea and concept, but then reality smacks you in the face, and some guys can do it and others can't. All right, a couple of other NFL things I want to get into kind of around the league. Were you following this story about Hard Knocks yesterday?
Oh, so I actually made a joke about that at work when I found out. I'm like, are we, because they're getting rid of All or Nothing, or I think that's the rumor anyway. They're getting rid of All or Nothing. Are they going to make an in-season Hard Knocks? Because they got to do something, because Hard Knocks sucked this year. I finally finished it. It sucked. I hated it. I thought it was going to be this really cool thing. No, the only thing I found out was Dak and Zeke have a bromance, and which I already kind of do. And Jerry Jones puts salt on his McGriddles. That's it.
It wasn't a good season, and I had faith that it was going to be a good season because Jones is as good a promoter of his product, the Dallas Cowboys, as maybe any owner in all of sports. He has run up the value of his team and done a very good job promoting it. But when the highlight of the show is the drone that comes onto your property to give you an inside movable look at the very nice, borderline tremendous facility that you've built down there in the Lone Star State. That was the highlight of the show. That's not good. That tells you the team had zero personality. I was disappointed too. But the first thought was when they made the announcement yesterday, there's going to be an announcement about the future of Hard Knocks on Thursday. Why? Why would they do something? It's got to be that the show is canceled. It's run its course. It's jumped the shark, to use a Happy Days phrase, which I was unfortunately bummed about because I loved Hard Knocks. I never missed an episode in all the seasons they showed. If I didn't see it live, I saw it after the fact. I'm a diehard fan. I get it. It wasn't what it used to be. I didn't know that it should be put out to pasture. And now, yes, there is this theory, and you espoused it and others have as well, that they're going to make it an in-season thing. Is that a smart thing? Is that what Hard Knocks is supposed to be? An in-season follow-up of the team? That came to me as a major surprise that they would go there and try and make it an in-season thing.
Well, I think part of the issue is, and I've talked to a couple players about this, especially Andy Reid coach players. Training camp is so much different now. It's not the two-a-days anymore. It's not the you get beat up unless you play for Andy Reid, essentially, for 2-3 hours. I mean, now it's like 90 minutes or whatever. I mean, we saw the Nick Sirianni practices. They don't do anything anymore. And, I think that's why Hard Knocks is part of why Hard Knocks isn't that great anymore. But you go in season now you get the drama. Now you get, say we do the Giants, for example. Maybe they do a Hard Knocks on the Giants Washington game. And then you get to see how the players really react to Joe Judge. And the Falcons, for example, they think Arthur Smith is a bum or, whatever. I think you get more of the in-season stuff, all the fun stuff. I always notice this too, interviewing players in the regular season. They always try to watch themselves a little bit for what they say because it does come back to bite them. And I know for a couple players I've talked to, it has come back to bite them. But overall, that's when you get the most authentic quotes, the most authentic stuff during a football game because it's real. Like, for example, like McMullen said today, Jason Kelsey cursing up a storm because he hurt his elbow during the game, but he's out for a play and he comes right back. It's that type of thing. That's something I want to see. So they do a Hard Knocks like that, I'm back in, baby.
So do you think it would be through the game, not just the lead up to the game, but through the game and then air on a Monday or a Tuesday thereafter after you have the results of the game? That's how you think it's going to be done on a timeline basis?
I think that's how they should do it. I think they should do like an hour and a half show. Because HBO, you got to remember, HBO doesn't have Inside the NFL anymore. They haven't had it for a long time. We have it now on Paramount Plus. So that content is gone. They really don't have that much sports content anymore because obviously the boxing stuff is done. Maybe this is their way of getting back into sports a little bit. And if you get the week leading in the game and the immediate stuff in the post game, you turn it around quick, get it in by, Tuesday, it could be something, Jody. I mean, this is something I will watch for 17 weeks.
They're going to announce the details of it come tomorrow before the Thursday night football game. I'm interested to see it. I was a little bummed out there because I thought for sure it was no more Hard Knocks. But an in-season one could be interesting depending on how they handle it. And I need your take on one other thing. And this hits home for you, not so much for a guy like me who's just a talk show host. The Denver Bronco media in attempting to set up their conference call / Zoom session with Urban Meyer of the Jacksonville Jaguars, this week's Broncos opponent, we're told the coach is not going to make himself available.
Huh.
Now, up until this year, the NFL had always mandated that a coach talk to the visiting media, that have a media
Have a private
session.
conversation, like, essentially. I
Right.
think Colin will do it with Shanahan today.
And as I said, the NFL made it optional this year rather than previously where it was mandatory. So the first to opt out was Urban Meyer this week with the Denver media because, oh, by the way, his team got their rear ends kicked by the team that everyone thought was going to be the worst team in the National Football League, the Houston Texans. So Urban Meyer is running and hiding right off the bat. Jeff Kerr, as a media guy who depends on stuff like this, your thoughts on Urban Meyer opting out of giving the out-of-towns media a chance to ask him questions in the start of a football week?
Well, I'll say this. I know how to get around it because I get every quote from the Jaguars regardless. And maybe I one of my big things is I adjust. And I know it's different for beat guys. Beat guys have a much, in my opinion, a much harder task than someone like me would. But I would definitely reach out to Jacksonville Jaguars this week if I was a Denver Broncos beat guy and say, what has he got? Can we get your PR? Can we get your quote sheet? Can we get all that? Because Jaguars have a really good media portal. They're actually really accessible when it comes to that. So that's why I was kind of surprised when I heard Urban Meyer wasn't going to do that. But you do get more when you get that 10, 15 minutes with that coach than any hearsay you'll get from Urban Meyer. I just think Urban Meyer's just being stubborn because I'm not 190 and 10 at whatever his college record is now. I don't even remember. But, he's going to lose games in the National Football League, especially with this team. He doesn't have an offensive line. His defense has allowed an NFL record 24-plus points in 17 consecutive games. It's beyond ridiculous how bad the Jaguars' defense has been over the last year. And, yeah, it's going to be tough, but I would just improvise. I really would. I would just, if I'm a media member, I would contact Jaguars PR and say, hey, what's he saying on Wednesday to the beat guys, Thursday to the beat guys, where the coordinator is saying Friday to the beat guys, and I just base your story off from there. Now that it's optional, it's a shame. This should not happen, but I have a feeling this is a trend that's going to continue, and I think we're going to see this. Like, I know guys are getting their credentials denied. By teams, they used to put everybody in there. It's weird now. It really is. It's definitely a different era in the NFL, which is why I feel fortunate that I'm able to have the relationship I have with a lot of these teams' PR staffs, and I'm able to get a lot of quotes from around the league.
Good for you, but not everybody has that relationship, as you correctly state.
Yeah.
And specifically, if you want to do a specific story, a feature-type story, and you need a quote from the coach, you want to be able to ask that question because you want to be able to direct a major storyline that you may be having. Now you have to adjust your story to what the coach had said that you had no chance to ask him a question on. It's unfortunate. It really is. I understand. And again, this is one of those things. Maybe it's just me being a pie in the sky optimist that I'm hoping is COVID related. I fear that it's not because they kept it as mandatory last year and it was worse last year. So this year they're again saying, well, don't know that the coach has enough time because there's so many protocols you got to jump through. I'm fearful that this is the beginning of the new way of doing things.
But here's the thing: it's a conference call, so why would it be COVID related?
Right.
That's what upsets me. It's you get a dial-in number. The Eagles send you this. They give you a dial-in number. You call, and then you can ask your question. You get like 15, 20 minutes with the guy. It's honestly a perfect eye on the enemy, breaking down whatever the coach is doing. And from what I heard, Arthur Smith was very accommodating last week.
And good for Arthur Smith because he had to win over some points some way because he didn't win it over with his coaching when the game actually took place. All right, we'll take a timeout here. We'll come back. Jeff Kerr, Jody McDonald, your Birds 365 guys. We're hoping to hear from Jason Lock-on-4, CBS NFL insider, at a dentist appointment. So he said, I may be a couple minutes late. Well, he's a couple minutes late, but that's okay. We're hoping Jason checks in. We'll get him up and punch him up as soon as he does join us. If not, we'll continue to look ahead to the Eagles and the 49ers coming up on Sunday, game number 2 of the Nick Sirianni era.